Hey folks, and welcome back to another episode of Straight Talk Whiskey. I'm Nick, here with you as always, and thanks for tuning in for this week's episode of Straight Talk Whiskey. So, as you can see from the table, we're going to be talking about some glassware and other accessories this week. So we're not going to be reviewing a whiskey in particular, but we've got a bunch of glassware for you, and to top it off, we're featuring a user-made globe-shaped whiskey decanter. So that'll be in, we'll do a little review on the last segment of this review once we get through the glassware, and it'll be a good time. So when you're going to seek out glassware or maybe expand your collection of glassware from what you have right now, you may be looking into different types of glasses and not knowing why you want to buy them. They might look cool, you might not know exactly what they're for, you might not know what the purpose is, why you'd buy one or the other, why you'd buy a ton. So we're going to try to do a brief overview of some of the glassware that I have and why it's helpful to me, and some other accessories. So first we'll start out, you always see in the review, I have this little coaster, so I always start these reviews out with a coaster. This one's a stone of some type, which is, I don't know, just adds a little posterity to it. To be able to set your glass on is just a nice little treat. But I don't really care for the cardboard ones. If you spill a little bit on the side, you might get it a little bit soggy, and then you get discoloration in whatever the artwork or image was. And same with cocktail napkins. A lot of people use those, but again, if you spill something, it gets all wet, and that's no fun to deal with. So I've come to like these ones. These are definitely good quality, and you can find them anywhere, usually in a pack of 4 or 6. So first thing we'll go to is just your typical rocks glass or tumbler. This one's a little bit unique in the fact that the bottom is shaped sort of like a soda can, or a soda bottle rather, with a few more little spokes on there. But the point is when you go and buy one of these glasses, you can tell the quality of it just in looking at the thickness of the glass as well as the base. The base is the biggest part about it. A lot of glasses are a little bit flimsy, might be cheap drinkware or something like that for dinners or something like that. But when you're going to have a nice drink, you want to have a good solid base to it. So if you see in there, there's a good thickness about that at the bottom. So if you were to set it down, people get a few too many in there and they tip a little bit, but if you can bash that around a little bit and it's not going to go anywhere because it's got a nice solid base to it. So that's a great aspect about that. Similar is this, and you'll see we have some accessories in here, which we'll talk about in just a second. But again, just your standard. This one is a little more flimsy because it doesn't have that nice of a bottom. This is the lower end, really, of what you would get. But it's got a nice little stippling on the side, makes it easier to grab with and that sort of thing. So it's not the bottom of the bottom, but it's your basic entry level. So we're going to take a brief little departure here and talk about how people drink their whiskey. Now, a lot of people like to add a little bit of water to their whiskey, which I do. It's perfectly fine. I think it's actually helpful in a lot of cases. So first thing I would say, I like to have, again, this is just for the reviews and a little posterity here, is this little just pitcher, little mini pitcher that I got just to hold water. I don't know, it's kind of nice, adds a little posterity. You could add it straight to your drink, or as you've seen in many of the reviews, you can get yourself a little whiskey diluting dropper glass. I'm not going to show that off too much. You've seen it a ton with these reviews. Try to get things out of the way here, but leave that up so you can see it. Also, what works really well? A damn spoon. So a lot of times you could just, if you need a little whiskey, a little water in your whiskey rather, you just drop it on in there. See? It's beautiful. It works just the same as the whiskey dropper. A little less controllable, but still does the same thing. Talking about water, ideally you want it to be filtered, and ideally you want it to be at room temperature. If it's too cold, you start to numb some of the flavors that are in your whiskey, and if it's too warm, you know, I don't know. I don't really like warm or hot whiskey, to tell you the truth. So, one way you can get around this idea of diluting it too much, but still having the chilled nature of your drink, is to get some whiskey stones. And these are metal. I believe they're stainless steel. But you just pop these in the freezer, and you go and pour your drink, and you're good to go. If you're like Frank Sinatra, you know, you break out your, I don't think they had Gentleman Jack back then, but you know, it's just, he wanted, let's see here, 2 fingers of Jack, 3 rocks. We got 2 whiskey stones in there, so I think that'll make up for it. And then he usually took a splash of water. So, 2 fingers of Jack, 3 cubes, and a splash of water was old Frank Sinatra's drink. But he would have also had a cocktail napkin, which I already said I don't do. So, anyway, swirl that around in there, and you get it nice and chilled after a while. Now, obviously, it's not instantaneous, but I had to take a sip of it. So we'll put that off to the side. May sip on that occasionally, but again, whiskey stones are a great option for that. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Now, moving down the line, we have, there's a little bit of a modification on a brandy snifter. So this is great for really bringing out some of the bigger, bolder aromas that are in your whiskey and really channeling them straight to your nose, which is where you want, obviously, to smell all the nuances and everything like that in glass. Obviously, you can tell the shape, where no matter where you're, you know, nosing it, you're going to get those aromas going straight to your mouth, and also gives a nice sturdy base on it, so it doesn't tip over too easy. And also gives a nice little stem. If you hold it like this, you know, and you swirl around, you see me doing that sometimes, you're not on the glass like this, potentially warming up the whiskey with your own body heat. So there is the option to do that, which is kind of nice. Some people, you know, they'll drink it like this, whatever, do what you got to do. But so those are the bits about that. This glass, not totally to do with whiskey, but 1/3 of it, because it's an Irish whiskey glass. So that's kind of nice. And if you get real crazy about how much cream you want to add in there, some people, I add Baileys in there. I really enjoy Irish coffees, and I know I said I don't like to mix a lot of my whiskey with things, but Irish coffee is one of the exceptions. Now, if you get real crazy, like I said, with the proportions, whiskey, coffee, that sort of thing, you can get yourself some traditional, you know, bartender measuring cups there for your pours. So that's that. You can get that out of the way. You should probably start clearing some of this stuff off. It's going to go flying at some point. Hope something doesn't break, but you know, that's why we're live here. So next is a Glencairn glass. So you can tell it takes a lot of similarities from the brandy snifter, right? Because you have the shape of the glass really channeling all the aromas in your whiskey straight up to your nose. I tend to use this a lot with Irish whiskeys, Scotch, and some world whiskeys out there, some French whiskeys, and that sort of thing. When I go and do American whiskey and bourbon, a lot of the times you'll notice I have this glass. I just have noticed that between the two regions, American whiskeys and bourbon and Irish whiskey and Scotch, I tend to get a little bit more punch out of using a specific glass. So, using the brandy snifter, bourbon, American whiskey tends to, it's not always the case obviously, but tends to have these bigger, bolder, caramel, campfire palate, as I call it. You know, the deep wood influence, smokiness, the cinnamon, the caramel, vanilla, all those big, bold flavors. So I like the mouth of the glass to be a little bit wider to get some of those out. And a lot of times, American whiskey and bourbon are bottled at higher proofs than most Irish whiskeys and Scotch are. It's just the way it is. So, and on the contrary, with Scotch and Irish whiskey, there's a lot of nuance, especially in today's market, between different whiskeys of the same region. So I really like to get the smaller mouth of the glass on that, because it really channels those into your nose, so you can really pick apart things. Whereas with this, yeah, you're picking things apart, but it's a little bit bigger. You got a little more room to breathe, to let the air get in there, let the oxygen swirl around, start getting things going. All right. So there we have that. Now I'm going to open up this other one. It's it says Glencairn on it. It's not a Glencairn glass, but it is made by the Glencairn Crystal Company in Scotland. So this is packaged up very nicely. I love this glass. And it's the Capita nosing glass. Now, you may have seen, if you ever watched any videos with Richard Patterson, he noses a lot of his whiskeys and tastes a lot of his whiskeys out of this glass. The famous pouring the first bit of whiskey and swirling it around and chucking it across the room, which is hilarious, but it's also very wasteful, especially when you see him do it with like a 50-year-old whiskey. So, but anyway, this compared the mouth of this glass is even tighter, even smaller, so you're really getting those nuances in there. Obviously, I'm just smelling air, but I just gotta, practice that for you. Longer stem, a little more elegant to it. A lot of it is aesthetics, really. A lot. You might be saying, well, why the hell do I need this, and this? I'm just smelling it. I'm not trying to, be crazy about it. A lot of it is aesthetics. So just to know that, just to be straight with you, a straight talk whiskey, so I ain't gonna blow smoke up your A. So anyway, if you buy one of these glasses, you'll get this nice little. I don't know if this is glass. I'm not gonna try it out. Glass plastic. Whatever, but there's a little piece like that. If you go in, you take a few sips, what have you, you're not ready to come back to it yet, you're discussing it, put a cap on it, and stop all the oxygen from getting inside, and those aromas changing on you, so saving it for a little while. It's especially cool to do with a whiskey you haven't tried before, and usually at a little bit higher proof is better, but to drink some of it, get your notes down of everything you smell and tasted, and then you could either let it sit out for like 15 minutes and go back to it like I suggest in a lot of my reviews, or you could put a cap on there. It's still going to get some air in there, but come back the next morning or something like that if you don't have to go to work or whatever, and just smell the difference, taste the difference is there. So that's kind of cool. But again, folks, depending on what you're looking for, a lot of it is aesthetics. Form over function, rather. So, we'll leave those out because those are really the three main ones that I use for really nosing whiskeys. And I gotta take a drink here. The whiskey stones doing very nice. Talk a little bit more about the size of these whiskey stones too, because you obviously don't want to go and swallow. So, switch these around here. So next, talk about solid base on this puppy. Look at that. That's got like that much thickness to it. That's almost, inch and a half to 2 inches. Solid chunk of glass there. That slams down there with some force. So you mean business when you're pouring a drink in there and sipping that. I just love the way you're slamming that. I know it's probably annoying to hear, but it's a good sound. So anyway, a little bit of room in there. We talked about some in these, but this one is just real hefty, and it's got a real nice solid base to it, and that's what I definitely want in glass. That definitely says quality to me, is that just the weight of it. I just love the weight. I don't know why. It's just a beautiful feeling. So then last we get to almost like a highball glass, if you will, and then we get this Jack Daniel's glass. Doesn't really do much. It's just different shape, that sort of thing. Maybe, yeah, with the smaller mouth opening than this. I think it's a little bit smaller. Yeah, just by a little bit. You get some aromas off of it, but I think it's just for, the looks of it. So, anyway, that's through the basic stuff of what I have there. The other thing, if you want to get a little fancy, this is usually for sherry, I believe, you know, just having a little sips there as you go. But this is kind of cool. I just bought this because if you had a nice, you know, whiskey that you were reserving for special occasions or something like that, you might grab a glass out like this so you can get it, you know, a really measured pour. You're not just going crazy if you want to make that bottle last. So, and it's just a nice presentation thing, right? A lot of it's aesthetics, but that's sort of where we're at. Look at packaging and all the marketing, that sort of thing. It draws our eye in, and, you know, studies show we do pay a little bit more for that, so, you know, there's something definitely linked to that. Again, just a nice little, I love the stippling on the side of it, and it's got this little, like, checkered pattern, but it's also got a little bit of weight to it, and the thickness on the side is very nice. Now, obviously, I don't have links to all of these where I got all of these from. If you're curious and you can't find where something is, give me a shout, and I'll try to look it up for you, see where I got it from. But just some really nice variety there. I think I got a lot of these from Crate and Barrel, to tell you the truth. So anyway, getting on to our main feature film here is we'll talk about this really neat whiskey decanter, because a lot of people have their traditional, well, see, we almost lost it there, we almost lost something. They have their, you know, just a bottle of something in it, and we're just going to use Jack Daniels for this, an unopened bottle, so let me crack that open. This is not, I'm not chugging this, as a lot of people seem to click on videos that have that, so don't be expecting that. But a lot of people have, great, it's going to be a pain in the ass. A lot of people just have bottles and stuff like that of things that they would call their daily drinker. But another cool option, and you've probably seen it a lot on TV, this should not be as hard as it is, folks. Don't bite your nails like I do, or you'll never get this stuff open. Son of a bitch. Sorry for the language. Oh, you see how that cap popped off right there? It's supposed to be a screw in. I don't think it's supposed to be doing that much. Unscrewing. But anyway, now that we're over that hurdle, a lot of people you'll see have these nice decanters. But I haven't seen a lot that are shaped like this, because this is really cool. A lot of it just bigger containers, boxier, square looking things. This one's really neat. A user sent this way so that we could review. There's a little bit, I always clean these out before I do anything crazy, but a little bit of water left in there from when I cleaned that. But, so let's go in and we'll talk about what you get with this, and I'll put the link down below in the video for this. So, anyway, get back to decanters and why people have them. So they have their daily drinker, right? Something you go to constantly. Well, wouldn't it be nice if you had something a little bit, you know, nicer to show it in? Or it could be your really special whiskey that you're reserving, you know, or just your nice occasion whiskey, maybe not your top of the line. But, so anyway, great opportunity to put in that. So, what you get first is, says Villa Medici, whatever that is. Little wooden tin, or wooden box here with whiskey stones in it. So these have been in the freezer for some time now. And you get, I have 9 in here. Now, the one thing I will point out about this, though, is, get these out, and there's also a little black cloth carrying case in there, if you're carrying it somewhere, I guess. But these stones, compared to, son of a bitch, I know there's more swearing in this review than you thought, but that's what you get. So, anyway, well, the whiskey go to waste. But you'll see that whiskey stone is a little bit bigger. Now, there's reasons for that. Obviously, when you go to drink stuff, and I'm not down at the end, so it's not sloshing around too much in here, but you get little smaller things, and things are going to start bouncing around on you. And as you finish your drink, things are going to start bouncing back. So you always want to make sure that if you're going to, have these smaller whiskey stones, that you take care not to swallow one of these. Oh, please don't do that. That would be god-awful. Anyway, so they make those whiskey stones. They also make moldable, well, basically they're just molds for ice that you could fit. This is just a big sphere, a big ball of ice that you can put in there. And then obviously you're not going to swallow that, but just different ways. But again, that's ice. And once it melts, it turns into water and dilutes your whiskey. These, you pop these in there, nice and cold. It's going to chill your whiskey up how you want it, but you're not going to dilute it at all, which is great. So anyway, you get those in the container, and those are really nice. It's also nice to be able to pop in, 4 or 5 of these and still have some spares. Or if you're drinking with somebody else, then you get a few more. A lot of times you only get enough stones for one glass, and you end up having to buy more. So that's a really nice feature about this. So you'll see in this, we'll start off with this wooden base. Just typical standard wood, nothing crazy. It's nice and sturdy. It's not loose or anything, which is really nice. You have that nice stand. And this is really easy. You just pop this, point in the hole, and let it rest on there, and you're golden. If you look at the globe, and I imagine this is where the cost, really comes into factor with this, is this really nice globe-shaped decanter to a glass in a ship that's on the inside of there with a little bit of red dyeing there to give it a little character there. And also, yeah, these, and then the map, obviously, of the globe. Then you get your nice little stopper that really keeps things nice and airtight. I like that it's got a good inch or so, to be able to prevent any air out of there. It does better than a lot of corks that I have, to tell you the truth. It really stays in there. So, if you're going to use this for the first time, I would just give it a rinse. What could it hurt? And then next is going to be getting your whiskey of choice in there, and how you do that. Now, you could play the game of trying to carefully, pour this out and, make sure you don't spill any, but we're not going to play that game here today. I've just got this little plastic funnel there that I'm actually going to tip up because we don't need to spill anything up, and then we're just going to fill this puppy up, and we'll see how much we get. This is just your standard 750 milliliter bottle of JD, black label. This is a standard go-to whiskey. You can have it on ice, you can have it nice and neat, you can mix it, do whatever you want. So, got an empty Jack Daniel's bottle, and you'll notice that once you get that off, drop that on the floor, and so we're not quite full, which is great, because this thing will hold 2 bottles of 750 milliliter liquid, which is fantastic. Because you can really get some bang for your buck, and most importantly, make it last, which is what we want. So now we've got our whiskey in there. The ship, look, it's probably hard to see on camera, but it is kind of cool how it just how it rests in there and how it looks. Really kind of cool. If you look up at that, really pretty sweet. So this is a great. And also, it's really sturdy once you've got it in there. The base is really nice. The arm of this curved arm really disperses the weight really well of all the liquid that was in there. So, definitely props, to them for designing it like that. So, and again, we said the glass stopper is really cool because it keeps a lot of the air out, which is what you want. And obviously, getting 2 bottles of something in there is going to force the potential for even more air to get in there. So, price. You can get it on Amazon, I believe $99, which is not a bad gig for this. Sure, you can get other decanters that are cheaper, but they don't look like this, I can guarantee you that. So definitely highly recommend it. It's a great addition to any home bar setup, what have you, little display. So with that, we'll conclude this review of Glassware, and hope you'll join us next week. We'll have something new for you in American whiskey. And until then, if you're going to drink, drink responsibly, and see you next time.